What's up, guys? It's Dwayne, back again for another video, back again for another reaction, and today's a great, wonderful, beautiful day, and you know why? It's a Sweden day. Why Sweden is so damn good at pop music. So I've heard. Without further ado, let's get into this reaction. Let's go.
I made it to Stockholm, the Swedish capital. A city that is not just historic and modern and stunning beautiful. Stockholm also plays a big role when it comes to pop culture. The children's book author Astrid Lindgren, for example, lived here when she wrote her famous stories. I already told you about that in my latest videos. But also music history was written here.
This building you see right behind me is the so-called Avicii Arena, a concert hall dedicated to the famous dance music producer who was born in Stockholm and also had his studio here. And well, Avicii was not the only one.
When it comes to pop music, Sweden has an outstanding history.
Why is that? I always find it confusing. This is why I'm looking forward to learning about why Sweden is the hub for pop music and why there's so many musically gifted and talented people that come from Sweden. Like, is it linked to the fact that, you know, your language is very musical in the way it sounds? I don't know. There's something in it. There's something in it, and I don't know what it is. But we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out.
Sweden is the only country, alongside the United Kingdom and the United States of America, that exports more music than it imports. And a lot of songs.
According to 2020 report from industry organizations Export Music Sweden, there are only 3 countries in the world that export more music than they import. Interesting. So we're up there. The UK are up there. Sweden are up there and US up there. I did not know that. We export more. Our countries export more than we import. I don't know what that means because I don't know, I can't speak for Sweden, but in England we listen to a lot of American music, and I would have thought we import a lot more American music than we export British music. We have a lot of great artists like Adele, Ed Sheeran, you know, we had Amy Winehouse, may she rest in peace. We have a lot of great artists, the Beatles, you know, from the past, the Rolling Stones. Like, you know, we have a lot of great British artists. However, we listen to a hell of a lot of US music, American singers, American producers, American bands. Don't know about you guys, but he's saying we export more.
Of songs we hear every day on the radio, sometimes without even knowing it, were written and produced by Swedes. You need a few examples? Well, the famous band Abba, of course, is from Sweden. Also Roxette, Ace of Base, The Cardigans, Robin, Nene Cherry, the Swedish House Mafia, Dr. Alban, Lykke Li, or Zara Larsson. This year, Sweden also won the Eurovision Song Contest with its singer Loreen. The country has won the competition a total of 7 times since the ESC was founded. So far, only Ireland has achieved this. And, well, last but not least, also Max Martin is from Sweden. You don't know who that is? Well,
this guy
he basically wrote all the famous songs from the 90s. For example, all the big hits by Britney Spears, NSYNC, or Bon Jovi, or Bryan Adams, or Pink, or Kelly Clarkson, or currently, for example, also The Weeknd.
Makes no sense. I don't understand. This Max Martin guy, he is an alien. When it comes to pop music, he's an alien. And he's reinventing himself throughout time as well. Like, in terms of his sound is evolving with the music industry. To go from Pink and then eyes up The Weeknd and, you know, Kelly Clarkson, that's all different types of music, but he's able to adapt through pop music like a chameleon, and I think that's incredible. He's very talented. I don't know what planet he's from, but, well, we know where he's from. He's from Sweden. So, I don't know. Maybe there's something in your water. Maybe. I don't know.
I think it's time to dive a little deeper into this phenomenon. Why the heck is Sweden so damn good when it comes to pop music? Why are there so many successful musicians here? And what could other countries maybe learn from it? Let's find out. So, before we try to answer the question why Sweden is so good at pop music, I thought we should visit some places first that are important for this outstanding music history. Maybe that helps us to understand the musical spirit of this country a bit better. And the first place I want to show you is this boring building right behind me. There's absolutely nothing to see here, but behind those walls over here, some of the most famous pop music songs have been written, produced and recorded.
It all started in the 1980s when a Swedish producer group formed. The name was Swemix, 5 guys who started as an underground producer team and who distributed remixes of famous songs without permission, also known as bootlegs, to Swedish clubs and discotheques. The producer group became so successful in the Swedish club music scene that a nightclub owner basically sponsored them a studio with all sorts of equipment, which was, right, this inconspicuous building over here. One of those guys was a man called sätherström, also known as Stonebridge. If you're a bit familiar with electronic dance music, you might know his name, and if not, you might know his remix of the song Show Me Love by Robin S., which was released in 1993.
What? God, you Swedes, wow, you've really been instrumental in music throughout time. This is a banger. You got to show me love. This is a tune. Like, in terms of house music, it's a staple. And I thought it was, I think she's American, but I just thought it was obviously, I thought it was produced by an American as well, but no, it was produced by a Swede. There's something in your water.
And was an absolute world success. One of the other guys of Swemix was a man called Dennis Pop. He produced the first songs of the Swedish band Ace of Base, also the famous hit All That She Wants, and after this song totally blew up, the little music studio in Stockholm literally became the #1 address for big artists all over the globe. Dennis Pop started a record label and production company called Chiron, and at the beginning of the 90s he also started to work with a musician and songwriter called Max Martin. I just told you about him. Their first successful collaboration was a song called Wish You Were Here by Rednecks, reaching #1 in several European countries in 1994. And in the same year, they also released their song Look Who's Talkin' by Dr. Alban. But well, even though those 2 songs were already super successful, this was just the beginning. 1 year later, in 1995, an unknown boy band entered the doors of the small studio in Stockholm, 5 American guys who called themselves the Backstreet Boys. From that point on, the Chiron studios with
I knew not. Wait, hold on, sorry. The Backstreet Boys went to Sweden. They went to Sweden to become who they were. Like, what? Like, how did I not know what? And when they came, when they were on TV in the 90s, you never associated the Backstreet Boys with Sweden. You associated them with America. It's crazy, like things that you just don't know, and what goes on behind the scenes. Sweden.
With Max Martin and Dennis Pop basically produced all the big plastic pop songs we know from the 90s. Wow. Quit Playing Games with My Heart, for example, or Baby One More Time by Britney Spears, but also
and it's a behemoth of a song.
Those songs performed by Westlife, NSYNC and Bryan Adams. The sad part of the story, Dennis Pop died in 1998, succumbing to cancer at the age of just 35. His colleague Max Martin, however, continued.
He died of cancer at 35. That's so young. That is so young. That's close to my age.
Continued his work.
It's
The
horrible.
production studio here in Stockholm closed its doors in the 2000s, but Max Martin became the #1 songwriter for basically every second pop song we know today. Here are a few examples of his work: Since You've Been Gone and Behind These Hazel Eyes
Since
by
You've
Kelly
Been
Clarkson, for
Gone.
example. It's My Life by Bon Jovi. It's Gonna Be
It's
Me
My
by NSYNC. I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys. I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry. So What by Pink. Shake It Off by Taylor Swift.
Shake
yes,
it off.
Swifties,
Shake
you heard
it
me
off.
right.
What?
Love Me Like You Do by Ellie Goulding. And Max Martin also wrote the famous hit song
Love Me
Blinding
Like You
Lights
Do.
by The Weeknd. What a
Mate.
career, right?
What? How is he able to continue just producing hit after hit after hit after hit after hit? He has to be one of the most talented producers in music industry history, like hands down. That's wild.
Just a few kilometers away from the famous recording studio, in this huge building over here, we will find the Avicii Experience, a quite new exhibition that tells the story of Tim Bergling, the famous DJ, producer and songwriter who passed away in 2018. And his success story
didn't even
is
know he had
also
passed
quite
away.
typical for many famous Swedish artists.
Avicii's music career basically started in school. He used to go to the same class as Otto No.
Wait, hold up. Because I always knew, I was like, Avicii's not... Avicii is a young guy. 1989. What? The 9th of August... Is that 9th of August, 1989? You write your dates differently, because you put the year first. Is that 9th of August, 1989? Or is that the 8th of September? I think it's 9th of August. He's the same age as me. He was the same age as me. That's so sad. What did he die of? It's really
Nose
sad.
and Alesso, who later also became very big names in the electronic music scene. As teenagers, they started to work together on songs. And just like the Swemix guys, also Avicii started to spread his songs and remixes in young years in the dance music scene. But well, not in clubs and on records like in the 1990s. He did it on the internet and also got his first record deal because of that. Avicii's first commercial hit was a song called Seek Bromance under his artist name Tim Berg. His breakthrough, however, was of course the song Levels, released in 2011, which became #1 in 10 countries. The rest of the story is known. Avicii became one of the most successful music producers in recent years. His country dance pop song Wake Me Up, for example, reached #1 on the hit lists in 20 countries. He was nominated or won prizes for the Grammy Awards, the American Music Awards or the MTV Video Music Awards. He worked with stars like Aloe Blacc or Rita Ora, and also the song A Sky Full of Stars by Coldplay was produced by Avicii. The downside of this success, Avicii always struggled with fame.
In a 2018 Netflix documentary, it becomes pretty clear
That he's actually a very introverted guy who's not really made for standing in front of large crowds, and already in early years he began to numb his stage fright with alcohol before his performances. This later
So
caused several
sad.
health problems, and also drug abuse was later a big part of Avicii's life as a musician.
So sad. So sad. I feel like anyone who's like someone who gets like huge in the music industry, their team should always look after that person's mental health. There should be a designated person looking after that musician or that famous person's mental health, because imagine just all over, maybe not overnight, but just becoming like one of the biggest stars in the world, and all eyes are on you. The effect that would have on your mind, like people look after their like physical health all the time. If you get sick, you go to the doctors. Like if you get sick, you get like medication or something to sort it out. But when someone's mind is not right, like a lot of people don't seek help. So it needs to be a priority with management teams and record labels. They should have someone on standby, a psychiatrist, a counsellor, someone who can support artists with their mental health, celebrities with their mental health, because it's so sad. He's so young. He's the same age as me, so that's why I'm just kind of, it's really sad. I'm guessing it was an overdose.
The music star. On April 20, 2018, Avicii was found dead during a vacation in Oman. 1.5 years later, Avicii's family announced that the cause of death was suicide.
He was only 28 years old when he died.
The Avicii Experience in Stockholm, which was opened in 2022, tells the story of this outstanding but also tragic career. It tells the story of Avicii's youth and how he produced his first songs in the bedroom, his legendary rise but also his fall, and it tells the story of his legacy and what he actually left to the music scene. Admission is €19.
I'd love to go. I'm definitely going to go.
Well, and if we talk about famous Swedish artists, we of course also need to talk about the most successful band ever, Abba. And their story is told over here in the Abba Museum.
The journey of Abba began in the early 1970s when Björn and Benny, two aspiring Swedish musicians, met and began writing songs together. They soon joined forces with the vocalist Agneta and Annie Frid. Their band name, Abba, is an acronym formed from the letters of each member's name. In the early days, Abba actually struggled to find success. They recorded several demos and performed at local clubs, but they were unable to secure a record deal. All of that, however, changed in 1972 when they won the Swedish Melody Festival with the song Ring Ring. The song became a Swedish hit and it helped to attract the attention of record labels. Abba signed with Polar Music, a Swedish record label, and they began releasing hit singles such as Honey Honey and Dancing Queen. And in 1974, they also won the Eurovision Song Contest with the song Waterloo, and this victory catapulted them to international stardom. The group, during its career, sold over 400 million records worldwide. In the Abba Museum in Stockholm, you'll be transported back to the 1970s, the era of Abba's greatest success. You see the band's iconic costumes, instruments and awards. Well, you can even step into a recording studio and create your own Abba song. Admission is €20.
It's not bad, that's reasonable. So I need to go to the Avicii one and I need to go to the Abba Museum. It's incredible. I didn't realize the impact that Sweden had on the music industry. I really didn't. I guess you guys don't know, but like, music is like a big part of my life. I do that as a hobby. I sing and I write songs, and that's what I do as a hobby. And yeah, just music. I just love music in general. And I'm so surprised I didn't know that Sweden was that. I knew about ABBA. And that's about it, really. But until I started watching Swedish content, learning about Sweden, I didn't know about Max Martin. I forgot about Avicii. it didn't even click that he's Swedish. Like, yeah, hat goes off to Sweden. There's something in the water, for sure.
So, there is one last thing I'd like to mention, because Sweden not only has quite successful music artists, it also plays a big role when it comes to music infrastructure. The building you see right behind me is the headquarters of Spotify, one of the most successful music streaming services ever, and it was founded right here in Stockholm.
Only recently I found out that Spotify was founded in Sweden. That blew my mind when I watched that video. That was like Swedish inventions or something like that, or whatever, like a list of things that were invented in Sweden. And Spotify, I just did not know. It's insane. It's really insane.
In the early 2000s, the music industry was facing a big crisis. Piracy was rampant and record sales were plummeting. And in this challenging environment, two Swedish entrepreneurs, Daniel Ek and Martin Lorentzon, had a vision. In 2006, they launched Spotify, a music streaming service that offered users access to a vast library of songs for a monthly subscription fee. The idea was simple. Give people a legal and affordable way to listen to all the music they wanted, and they would be less likely to turn to piracy. The funny thing about this is, at that time, Sweden did not only invent the legal music streaming service, Sweden also played a very big role in music piracy. The website The Pirate Bay was founded in 2003 in Sweden, so when it comes to
That I didn't know as well. The Pirate Bay was founded in Sweden as well. Jeez, guys. I just had no clue that your country was so influential when it comes to like everything I've known as a kid. Like I used to download off the Pirate Bay all the time. Get my free music albums, my free movies. I used to do that all the time. And then Spotify, I use Spotify as my main streaming service. Sorry, YouTube, I don't use yours. Even though I have access to YouTube, I still use Spotify. And that's Swedish as well.
Shaking up the music scene, the Swedes were always a little ahead of their time. Yeah. Spotify's early years were not without challenges. The music industry was initially resistant to the new service, and many labels were reluctant to license their music. However, Ek and Lorentzon were persistent, and they eventually managed to secure deals with the major labels. As Spotify's user base grew, so did its popularity. By 2010, Spotify had over 10 million active users. Well, and today, the world's leading music streaming service is not a product from the Silicon Valley. Nope, it's Spotify from Stockholm in the small country of Sweden with over 456 million monthly active users. The service is available in over 180 countries and it offers access to over 80 million songs. And what becomes a hit today is no longer just determined by record companies and marketing. Rather, it is Spotify's playlists and algorithm that decide who becomes a star and who doesn't. Of course, there's
Spotify's like playlist and algorithm way like suggests the songs for you. That is like ingenious, and that's why I keep coming back. I tried Apple Music for a little bit. I just didn't like it. I didn't like the interface, and I like the way it looked, and I just didn't like. It just didn't suggest the songs that I liked. Whereas Spotify, they know the music I like, so it suggests the right songs, which is very clever. Swedish invention. There you go.
So a lot of criticism of this model. Spotify pays artists an amount of around 0.003 euros per stream. So if you want to make money with your music on streaming services, you really have to land a hit and get millions and millions of streams.
That's my only issue. I had 4 songs on Spotify, believe it or not, a couple of years ago, and they pay you literally nothing for streams. They pay you nothing. It's not a good way. It's a good way for exposure though. Really, you should be using Spotify as a marketing tool to then promote your music so that then you can play live shows and actually get paid. But yeah, streaming for artists is not It's not great unless you're the
And of
biggest
course,
artist.
it's worth it. But the streaming business is not very lucrative, especially for smaller artists. They have been fighting for a fairer pay for many years.